Hey everybody, welcome back to 911, a very authentic podcast with very poor production quality.
You know, I think we've upped our game a little bit.
Well, I mean, I really can't say anything considering that you do all the work, Hillary.
You show up, and you volunteer your voice. I mean, that's something.
You're
here.
I'm here.
You're breathing. You have a pulse. That's like...
True. Which in your line of work is really meaning success.
That's what I tell people. That's like my main criteria. Yeah. So I think we're doing wonderful.
That's good. And speaking of... medical concerns and wonderful. We are hanging out with two really amazing doctors. So, Hillary, you're right in your element. And thankfully, I was able to pull you away from medicine and talk a little bit about grapes in this episode.
This is a really great episode with some really cool people. So stay tuned.
Enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and we're back on a beautiful spring afternoon here in St. Helena at a very local family's house, fifth generation, coming over to the valley in, I believe, the 1800s?
1871.
1871.
No, I'm sorry. Well, it depends on which part of the family. There's two families joined. One came in 1871 and one came in 1864.
We'll claim them both.
Okay.
Wow. So, 1800s, a few years before you or I made it here. Mm-hmm. Would you like to introduce our guests?
Sure. Thank you, Hillary. Great intro. I'd like to welcome Sylvia and Steve Taplin from Taplin Cellars.
Cool.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And we're on location.
Yeah, we're here in a very cozy niche right off of Sulphur Springs. So
that's right. We're overlooking the Maya Tamas.
Very cool. Absolutely.
And a house that was built in around 1865 or 6 and is now being lived in by my son.
Right on.
Was it 1920?
No. It was the house that was up on the hill that they lived in while they were building the big house. Oh, okay. The big house was built in 1870. Finished in 1870. So this house had to have been built before that. The great thing about any confusion about dates in the 1800s is no one's around to argue with you. You guys have a lot of history, though, in Napa Valley. I really want to get into that. But before we do, speaking of history, the police log, you guys have obviously read it and seen how the police log works?
Yeah, so we're covering March 2023, and then we're going to do March 2011. And 2011 is in honor of when Taplin Cellars started.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And you guys have heard the podcast before, I assume, right? I mean, like everyone in St. Helena.
Yeah.
Again, very niche market.
I said, we're going to make it big. It just hasn't quite happened yet.
Yeah, we won't quit our day jobs. So let's jump in. Well, let's each pick a fun police log entry, and then we'll jump into some history.
Well, I've got one, and it reminds me of this town, because when I left this town, I used to get the Star newspaper, and I got it and landed on my desk at college, and the front page cover above the fold was a picture of a set of daffodils beaten to the ground by a stick, and the stick was still there in the set of daffodils, and the cover, the headline was, Mrs. Mackenzie's Daffodils Beaten. So that was my new friends in the dorm room that I shared were very impressed. So here I am, how many years later? That was about 69, so that's 70. How many years later is that?
A lot.
It's like
a few summers.
50, more than 50 years later, the log is saying a woman called 911 to ask what time it was. So I've got to be back in St. Helena.
It seems like the crime's gone down if we judge by those two.
Oh, yeah.
Angry daffodils versus...
An angry daffodil assault is pretty wild.
But I asked the question again, do we think they told her the time, or do you think they were so irritated that she called 911 that they just did not tell her the time?
I bet they hung up. Yeah. And, they're still searching for... Mrs. McCaffrey's, was it McCaffrey's?
Mackenzie's?
Mrs. Mackenzie's, the perpetrator of the daffodil assault. So,
yeah, they were too busy.
They have more critical events going on.
Well, here's a little more serious, scary crime.
Okay.
At 12:02 on a Sunday in the afternoon, report of a suspicious man wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask sitting in someone's unlocked car on St. James Drive. He was last seen walking toward Mitchell Drive.
That's creepy.
That's scripted. A Phantom of the Opera mask. Like, has I been on Broadway lately in San Francisco and he got one at the Like gift shop?
It might be.
He wasn't singing though.
He wasn't singing, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
If you're going to break into my car, at least sing like a fun tune along with it.
Hillary, your life could be a musical.
Really, one day.
I have a good throwback from 2011. This was Thursday, March 8th. It's at 20:47 tonight. Actually, no, 7:33 in the morning. RLS middle school staff asked for help catching a large German Shepard that lives nearby, who's been wandering on school property and defecating on the track and other areas. Police checked the area and did not find the German Shepherd. Also still at large. Maybe he was beating up someone's daffodils. Or pooping on them.
He was fertilizing.
Sure.
It's fertilizing. Well, I like the caring about the report of an injured bird on Pratt Avenue.
Yes. What kind of bird? Is the bird okay? Did it make it to Dr. Gold's?
Again, we need more description on those. We'll see. Well, what are we drinking today, everybody? This is great.
So this is our 2018 Taplin, and it comes here from our vineyards, and it has a story because this is a specific vineyard within the state where they were digging and they found that it had way more rocks, and they found that it sits on a old ancient riverbed. So in the middle of the alluvial fund that comes on from the Mayacamas. And so it was different than the rest of the wine, so we decided to make its own label. And it's 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. And then it's aged in all new French oak barrels.
Beautiful. It's very nice. And just the nose on that's beautiful.
What
Dark fruit and
18.
2018.
Yeah. So that was a very nice
beautiful
vintage.
color on it.
just pinpoint. Very nice.
Yeah.
And Julien Fayard makes your wine.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well-known winemaker. Well, how long? So let's start quickly with the winemaking history, and then we'll go to the rest of the history. But you guys started making wine in 2011. 12. Sorry.
Well, it depends. We started working with Julien in 2013.
Okay.
That was his first full vintage.
So we were fiddling around with other people along the way.
Nice.
We really became an official business in 2013. 2011, we became a business.
See, now in the
2013, we started making really.
you can't get away with.
Yeah, there was somebody there.
Someone will know. So.
Yeah.
Unlike the 1800s.
So it starts as you have vineyards. You want to see how the grapes taste, and you start putting getting a barrel, friends and family, and then we start growing from there until Julien joined us. And his first full vintage was 10 years ago, 2013. Yeah. Although we do have older wine, just because we were fiddling around, and so it's been a very good collaboration. And he pays attention to the vineyard, and that's what attracted us to it.
Yeah. We got lucky. Julien came to us when he left. He'd worked with Philippe Milka, and he was just going and becoming independent. So we got him, started working with him when he was just starting to be independent, and now 10 years later he's still working with us, but he's got a much bigger reputation because he's a good winemaker.
He really is.
And he really we wanted somebody who wanted to focus on an estate. We have all the grapes we need for our wine, and we wanted to use them and present them so they reflected our ground, and that's what he's about. That's what he wants to do. And it's actually a little bit difficult in this valley to have enough property to be able to really stick to your own property completely, and be as small as we are. So we got lucky. We got Julien, and we're working together to do that, to focus on our estate wines.
Well, it's really so great to have that sense of place, right? And taste it in the wine, and have a winemaker that gets it and understands the site. So before you had started making your own wine, where were the grapes going? We can't tell. It's secret.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll turn off.
They were going to great places.
Great wineries around
That's all we need to know.
That's right. They were going to great wineries around. They were mostly local, almost all local.
That's kind of fun that it's secretive.
Yeah.
Well,
I kind of like that.
yeah. Some people want to have secrets because then somebody else gets their grapes.
Yeah.
Do you have NDAs?
No, we don't. Everything is like.
But you put the vineyard designate.
We do a vineyard designate.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if you want it, if you buy the grapes, then the designate comes with it. So as long as you don't screw it up too bad.
Do you have a tasting to make sure?
No. My dad would say, tastes like wine.
Okay.
So it's a rigorous process.
Yeah. Do you have any rules for getting?
I mean, we just carefully choose who we sell to.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We vet who we sell to, and most of our buyers, or most of the wineries we sell to, we've sold to for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
That have done designates, so
Yeah.
we trust them. Yeah. So, but it's always interesting and kind of a challenge when you go off and find someone new, or you have grapes for sale, and you want to make sure you get the right folks to make them.
Well, the interesting thing is when you taste the wines afterwards, and they're very different styles, and they're the same grapes. And also when you observe that they want to harvest before or after, or when do they harvest,
Different harvest times.
and follow that up, and you can see the difference in styles, because some people say, oh, Napa Valley wine is just one. It's not. It's just.
It's really neat to see, like you said, the different winemakers, what they bring to it, and do that kind of horizontal, if you will, tasting right between the different the different producers. It's neat. So, on the Taplin land, do you make? Is every grape you make here go into your wine, or do you still sell a little bit off to different wineries?
We sell 80% of our grapes.
Okay, cool. So you take the best spot for you, put it into Taplin.
Yeah.
Great, nice.
Yeah.
We
We have two labels actually. We have one label that's called Terra 9, which is 2 rows here, 3 rows there. Julien selected the rows, and we've been over the years looking at the different blocks and what we said, what those blocks give us, and so by now we kind of know the style, and we at the end blend the different parts so we have another label called Terra 9, and we called it Terra 9 because Steve's great-great-grandfather?
My great-great-grandfather
says
the property was 9 part rocks and 1 part dirt.
That's perfect. Yes.
So Terra 9 is in honor of my great-great-grandfather.
Very nice. Yeah, I bet you pulled a lot of rocks off this property. Yeah,
we do.
What did they do with them all?
We actually left them.
Really?
We haven't. They're all. It's a pretty small rock, but it's all rock.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, some of them are piled somewhere, but
one day there'll be a big stone wall just surrounding.
Are you thinking about the pile of rocks up the road?
Yeah.
That's not from here.
Oh, okay.
Those rocks came from off the property.
Interesting. Nice.
So I'm curious to go back a little more. So you guys were both providers, right?
Providers?
Or doctors.
Yeah, we're both doctors.
Yep. And then now we're here making wine.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that transition.
Who starts?
That's a long story.
Well, I'll start.
You start.
I'm actually I am a physician, but I'm very dangerous because if somebody in the plane says, "Is there a physician in the plane?" I hide because I'm really an epidemiologist and did health policy for many years.
Wow.
For the World Health Organization. Cool. And that's how I met Steve, because what were you doing?
We were working on a project together, writing a monograph on breast cancer. Breast cancer screening and breast cancer. My section was on screening. So we were working together for 2 weeks in Lyon, France.
Wow. What a great research place.
Yeah.
How did you work that
really
out?
fun.
WHO. Well,
She was at WHO. I was working with NIH and had been writing papers on breast cancer, so I had a reputation in the area of breast cancer. So we got picked to go to the meeting, and we met at the meeting, worked together for 2 weeks, and I said, "Okay, we're done." I was leading this one section. "Okay, we're done. Let's go out for dinner. Who would like to go out to dinner?" And she put her hand up, looked around the table, and nobody else had their hand up.
New way to date. Yeah.
And so after the color came back into her face, we went out to dinner.
and the fun part was that we went to this gorgeous bistro, and we ordered the dinner, and he was going to order the wine, and I went like, "Oh my God,
So she was an obnoxious European who thought that Americans were completely ignorant of wine.
And he went ahead and called the som and was talking to him, and I was like, he said, the wine is on me. And he ordered beautiful wine, so I complimented him. I said, oh, this is beautiful, thank you so much.
Did he know French wine?
No, I just had enough sense to talk to the Somal.
You don't have to know everything, just know who to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
And no, he knew. And so I said, oh, are you into wine? Do you like wine? And he just very humbly said, well, I grew up in the Napa Valley. So
You can grow up in the Napa Valley and remain completely ignorant of wine.
100%.
It's true.
Yeah.
So
I still am completely ignorant.
And you're making
I'm
wine.
making wine. And Sylvia, where are you from originally then?
So I was born in Chile.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And I, at the time, was working in Europe. I'm both Spanish and French descent. And so I thought I knew something about wine. I didn't.
Well, now you just know even more.
I know even less. Yeah.
So you guys bonded over wine.
Yeah.
And then when was that? What year was that?
2002.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when was the spark moment of we should do our own project?
Oh, that was several years later because we were both. I was working in Seattle, and she was working in Washington D.C. As it turned out, I had plans to move to Washington D.C. because I was doing research in Seattle, and the National Institute of Health wanted me to come and work with them. So I went to NIH. I was going to NIH just as I met Sylvia, almost like within 2 months.
Convenient.
Very convenient.
There you go.
So I moved to Bethesda, Maryland, and we started dating and eating food together and drinking wine together. One thing led to another.
Yeah, we married in 2006.
And I moved there in 2003.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was pretty quick. 2006 and then 2013, making your own wine.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well, we decided to make our own wine with my brother and my sister, because we had been growing grapes and we were inheriting the property from my father, who was growing grapes but not making wine. And so we decided in 2011, we got the property and we set up 3 LLCs and we started making wine about that time. And it was primarily to leverage the grapes, to take advantage of the fact that we had great fruit.
Yeah.
And so we started by saying, can we make great wine? And we made great wine without any problem. But then we decided we needed to grow a winery and do all the work that you have to do to sell a great wine. Because obviously, great wine can be hidden away. So we did that. We started to work with my brother and sister, and then I was still working at NIH during that time.
And I was at WHO, but I was traveling too much.
Yeah.
And there was an opportunity. I said, can you help us with this? I took a look at the spreadsheet and said,
finances.
oh, okay. Yeah, why not? And
Well,
I
that
said,
was close to your retirement. I mean,
yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
did an early retirement. I was, I started pretty young, and then I decided, I said I'm going to help for a little while. Well, a little while, I'm still here. We're growing. We started really small, like just a few hundred cases, and then we started to grow, and now we have a plan. This is becoming a full-blown winery, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
And you guys have the winery here as well, right?
This is becoming a winery.
Cool.
This place.
How has all of the permitting and all the county stuff been? Curious.
Well, it all depends on how you look at it. We worked with somebody who knew what they were doing, and since we've come here, we've gotten a permit for a winery and a permit for a house remodel and a permit for a fence. And of the three, the permit for the fence was the most difficult.
Well, you're in a unique spot here because you're outside the city limits.
Exactly.
Right, so at least you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But the county has its own set.
But the county actually was very helpful, and
Nice.
we got somebody who really knew what they were doing and knew how to cross the T's and dot the I's and sort of led us through. And that was incredibly helpful.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
But it was like an easy process.
And the fence is doing well today?
The fence has to move.
All that work.
Yeah, you're right. We just doubled the price of the fence.
Oh my gosh. So how many cases are you making a year?
So we're now close to 1,700 cases. We're slowly getting out of the contracts that we have with people because, as you know,
careful there. 'Cause we're going to keep our contracts because we're sort of old. We're kind of the old style. We didn't have a lot of money. We had a lot of land, so we're kind of bootstrapping our way up.
Yeah.
And we sell grapes and we have contracts for grapes, which we will keep and honor. And we're gradually increasing, and within the contract, we're using the contract to gradually increase the proportion we keep for our own.
And if someone bails out or doesn't want as many grapes, then
there we go in. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
We start growing,
But
but we're not going to grow that much. I mean, in our lifetime.
Yeah.
If the next generations want to grow it, that's a different story.
But it's also the income from selling the grapes that helps us make it until the winery is on its feet. So we're just very lucky.
Yeah. The business model is still sell grapes, and then you have a very specific small amount of wine that you sell. I'm familiar.
You're very familiar with
You
selling
know the
grapes.
game.
It's smart, yeah. Exactly. Grow organically and small, and
Yeah.
and it's something that's unique, and the people that really know wine, I think, will really appreciate it because there's not a lot of old family sites left like this anymore.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I think I talk consolidation on every episode. Sorry for the 3 listeners that we have. But I mean, have you been challenged with the whole consolidation thing, or worried that you might have, if the family all doesn't agree, that it might have to sell, or I mean, how have you guys bridged that gap?
Well, we my brother and sister and I started out, and we spent a lot of time talking about what we wanted to do and making sure we all wanted to do it. And unfortunately, my sister died in 2015. And so that changed things a little bit, but as it turns out, my son came on, and so the next generation got involved. So that helped to begin to have a connection with the next generation and anticipate what's going on. But it's still an open discussion. My brother and I clearly want to do it, and want to do it in order to increase the value of what we have and to use the value and to make wine. It's a privilege to have this kind of property and have these kind of grapes, and it's in this community. It's an opportunity to be engaged in the community and the way the community recognizes. This is a community of winemakers, so it's a great opportunity, and I love growing and thinking about it and doing it. And so we're going to do it while my brother and I are alive, and then we'll see what it looks like. But we're trying to create a structure that the children will make a decision. They don't have to do what we did, but they have to decide at some point, are they in or out?
Yep. For sure. Because I mean, the history here is incredible. So back to the beginning, right? So 1870s?
1864, the property was bought.
Yep. Okay. By your great-great-grandpa?
Llewellyn, yeah.
Yeah, Llewellyn, okay.
That's right.
Got it. So Llewellyn, and he owned basically or bought everything from here where we are.
Or from the hills, from the Mayacamas.
The hills.
His house in the Mayacamas to the
By wait for the white, kind of where the white barn is?
No, not that far.
Not that far.
No,
Yeah.
There's a white house. There's a big white house right at the head of this property.
No, but it goes up the
It's about
hill.
300. It was more. Well, there's 300 acres left. I don't know how much more there was.
And all the way to the vineyard originally.
Yeah.
Wow.
To the Napa
Or to
River.
to the river. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an old. We just bought an old map of the Napa Valley that shows the property. You can see it from the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where did you find that old map?
Up in Adler's.
Really?
Yeah, it's made by a company by somebody named Haas, Haas.
Yeah, that was the original map makers
Yeah.
for Napa, right?
Yeah, and she has reproduced it in a beautiful way, really
Cool.
detailed way, and made it available. anybody. So
And your other great grandfather owned from the Napa River up Taplin
so
Road.
as it turns out, the Llewellyn property went to this river, and the Taplin property started on the other side of the river.
Okay.
So we went
Clear across.
mountain to mountain.
Wow.
Yeah.
No way. Yes. So Llewellyn original, and then there's two families from the Llewellyn clan, which was Taplin White.
Right.
Okay. Cool. And that's the other half now is
The other
with your
part of the
cousins.
property,
Yeah.
the cousins, the Whites.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you have any more fun log entries? I have one.
Go for it, Hillary. I knew you had one. You wouldn't have asked. if you
Okay.
At 3:43 p.m. on a Friday, report of a man breaking the window of a vehicle on Grayson Avenue. Police contacted the man. He had just left his keys in the vehicle and the tow truck was taking too long, so he broke his own window.
Dedication.
I wonder how long the tow truck was going to take. Maybe he really had to go somewhere.
Man.
I mean, I wouldn't choose that route of entry, but
I thought what's interesting is he was reported.
yes.
Or that's
I'm
a
destroying my own
It's a
property.
good excuse if you get caught breaking into someone's car.
I did have an embarrassing moment the other day at the airport, and my back windows were down because I had Wallace, my dog, in the car. And my car's not supposed to lock with the keys in the car, but somehow I managed to do that. And I'm at the airport picking someone up, but now we're locked out of my car. So at the pickup at the airport, I'm crawling through the back window to get into my car. So, there's ways around breaking the window.
Wally was not helpful whatsoever.
I tried to have him press the unlock button, but we're still working on the service dog training, so he hasn't quite picked it up yet.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a lab.
Oh, okay. They're
Yep.
pretty smart.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Brilliant in the ways he wants to be.
His own way. His own special way. Here's a good one. Ooh, this is Friday. I say March 13th. No, it's March 3rd.
No.
Friday, March 3rd. 1341, trespassing report at a business on Main Street. While checking the business for the trespasser, police officer located 2 unattended cell phones plugged into a power outlet and confiscated them for evidence / theft of utilities.
Theft of utilities.
Yeah, they were stealing
Stealing
power
power.
that did not belong to them.
Wow.
Unable to locate
Better power than
trespasser.
money.
Yeah.
Or money, water.
Oh God, still
That's what I was
water.
thinking.
Water's gold.
Could they not just hit the home screen and see whose picture was on the back to see whose phone they were?
It says here it was a picture of a yellow Labrador named Wally.
My phone does die all the time, but I find my own power sources.
Okay.
Police asked to check on a man who was waiting for the bus in the wrong place. Police pointed him to the correct location. I thought that was very nice.
That's very nice, yeah.
I don't know why the person that called the police didn't just go tell the man where the bus stop was, but that's okay.
At least they didn't call 911 for the
Okay.
bus stop all the time.
Here's a person who, someone's tax documents were found at a bus stop on Main Street. Holy.
The same guy that was asking for the bus stop had his taxes and left them there.
I would be pretty frazzled if I lost my
Hillary,
With your social security number.
Yes. What were you gonna say?
nothing.
I'm scared to ask, but I screwed up
Maybe
anyway.
was it 911's taxes, Hillary? There's a story behind that.
Well, no, it wasn't. Our taxes were done correctly this year.
This year, this year. Great. If anyone's wondering, we still do not have a sponsor. We still spend our own money on this. It's been great.
Anyway, we still can't do an LLC, is what we're getting at.
Have you guys ever been in the police log?
No.
No rambunctious parties here? No lost dogs? No injured squirrels? Nothing? Wow.
Well, I was
No.
gone for 50 years. That probably helped.
That helped, yeah.
No. No.
We only came back in 2016, so we really haven't had it.
Peak of crime. I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, we've never been in the police.
So there's a missing section we haven't talked about yet, which is everything between like 1900 and 2002 or 11. What
just a few years.
What was the vineyard history then? So it was run by your grandparents.
My grandparents, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
My
it wasn't
great-grandparents.
vineyards.
It
It,
wasn't
was
vineyards.
walnuts and prunes.
The story, the property went through the story of Napa Valley.
Yeah.
They were growing grapes and making wine in the 1800s.
Hmm.
And then with Prohibition, in the early 1900s, 1920s. They stopped. They pulled all the grapes and planted walnuts. So there were walnuts and prunes in here when I was a kid, and they didn't get pulled out until the late 1970s or early 1970s, I guess. Yeah, they were pulled out in the 1970s, and then they really started making wine in the early 1990s.
Okay.
So the progression was just like what happened in Apple Valley, except that maybe they started making wine a little bit earlier. They started making wine again in the 70s and 80s here in the valley.
Do you still have the original house?
It was probably built in 1890s, 1900.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, my grandfather was born there in 1902. It's on Niebaum. Mm-hmm.
Somebody lives there?
No one lives there now.
No, it's not here.
Yeah, just empty.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever get evicted, I know where to go.
So there's no place.
You have two. You can come here.
I promise I'm a good tenant. I don't know.
Wally would really love it. He'd have a great time.
He would.
Yeah.
He'd go for a morning swim, run through the vineyard, then he'd be done for the day.
Yeah.
He'd be exhausted.
And then, so the tasting, you have a little spot where you can host tastings then as well?
Not
How
yet.
does that work? Not
No,
yet.
you have
Okay.
to.
So
we started making wine, and we developed wine. We wanted to know if we could make good wine, and we turns out we could make great wine. And so we did. So we started building volume, and then what year did we get the winery permit? So
During COVID. No, after COVID.
within the last 3 or
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
Best time to get a permit in Napa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So
Really?
Oh yeah, because business was down. They were this is probably easy for me to say, but they were being a little bit more resilient, or a little more lenient. Thank you, on allowing people to start new businesses. I think.
But they were, as we said earlier, I mean, they basically were very, as long as we did everything right and didn't fill out all the paperwork and did things.
Perfect.
They were saying that, you're an old family, you've been here forever.
Yeah.
Why weren't you making wine before?
Sure.
So, we're not going to throw up a lot of roadblocks.
That's great.
If you're doing right and filling out things right and meeting all the requirements, then we're going to help you.
And your neighbors were fine. You don't have very many neighbors around here, so.
We don't have neighbors, and the neighbors that we had were
Went
happy
for
to
support.
have a winery nearby, so it
Cool.
worked out really well.
Nice. And then how many acres? I mean, obviously you need 10 for a winery, but way more than that. But how many acres do you have here for the Taplin cellar?
Taplin says 28.
Cool. Perfect. And then that meets up with the Llewellyn, or the white part.
Right.
Yep.
And the
then
overall
the-
Llewellyn.
The Llewellyn part,
There's-
which is the both families, is about 20 more acres.
Okay. Are they also making wine too?
Llewellyns make wine too.
Yeah, well,
They-
Hayfork.
Yeah.
So that's Hayfork. Okay.
Yeah, Hayfork. There's also Llewellyn. There was a
Another label.
a label called Llewellyn. It was
We
still
might
around.
need to
Very
make
nice.
a family
Yeah.
little diagram for this episode.
Yeah.
Like a little family tree.
Yeah. you
Yeah.
could-
To
So
visualize.
the whites have two labels. We have one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's interesting. Very different styles, and yeah, that's.
So how would you describe your approach to the winemaking and the style? How would you?
vineyard centered?
Okay.
A lot, what happens in the vineyard, and I think Julien is like.
non-interventional.
Yeah.
We're really trying to not do much, to just guide it.
Make good grapes and
Yeah.
don't screw it up in the winery.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. That's the basic approach.
Julien is very hands-on in the vineyards. He talks to the vineyard manager all the time, and he sometimes. I walk the dog at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I see him going out because he's already walking around and seeing how things are going. And it's a style of a style that starts in the vineyard and pays a lot of attention to what we have in the soil, and we had a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon. There was all Cabernet Sauvignon, like most of in the valley. And in 2013, we planted a small part of Cabernet Franc because my sister-in-law Melinda really wanted to make a rosé, which we still make, but not from here. And because the Cabernet Franc grew into a gorgeous red wine, and we had our first vintage in 2019. We did not have anything in 2020. And we just bottled the 2021 and also expanded the Cabernet Franc acreage, a few more acres of Cabernet Franc, and we're looking forward to having it on the lineup.
Cool. So will you blend and make a blend, or will you do a separate varietal for Cab and for Cab Franc? Cool.
It was interesting because when we tasted the 2019, we had a number of people taste it and said, "Oh, this tastes like Cabernet Franc should taste." And it was interesting for us because also, it's not a varietal that is widely known, but it also varies depending where you plant it. So even if you taste Cabernet Franc along the valley, there are different nuances and styles. I don't know. Do you have any Cab Franc?
No, just Zin and Cab Sauv. So,
okay. It's been interesting because it's it's an interesting grape. Is you see it different when you see the vineyard. I don't know how to explain it, but you harvest earlier and
it's got great aromatics, I think, and what's really fun about Cab Franc is the aromatics to it.
Yeah.
To me, it always tastes a little bit on the greener side, but I think that is depending on the site and what's going on. And I think it adds something to it. But people that like it really love it. So
it's kind of very elegant and softer than Cab Sauv.
Yes.
And so there's something for everybody, and a lot of people love Cab Franc. So
more ethereal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
How is 2023 looking? I know it's early, but I feel like we've had good water, and now we're having good sunshine. How do we think this year's going to be?
Pretty uniform. I see the...
I don't want to jinx it.
Okay, don't jinx it.
I don't want to
have a fire just
It's been a
in
slow,
Polk
steady
Valley.
growth and at nice temperatures. I think it'll be really interesting to see what
I
happens.
want to
So
be
far, so good.
optimistic.
What has your favorite year been since you started making wine?
15.
15. Okay.
It's tasting
think
really... to me, it's...
What about 9? 9 was pretty good.
Well, but we were not very commercial in 09.
You've had some special selection.
Yeah. But, every year we open a library wine. We keep some behind because really these grapes, 7 to 10 years, that's their sweet spot. And they start tasting beautifully. And, this year we've been enjoying, last year we were enjoying 2015. It was a drought year, low yields.
Everything's really concentrated then.
Really concentrated, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
So I like it,
Steve, do you agree, or do you have a separate favorite? Steve's over here.
I'm over here doing
feverishly-
that family tree.
I know,
Family
I'm
tree.
very impressed.
Check the show notes for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Which is your favorite year?
I love this.
I need a picture of that.
This is awesome.
That's great.
Which is your favorite year?
Well, I was
Of the last 10?
I like what happened with 9, but 15 is definitely up there. 16 is really good too. So I don't really like favorites. I like variation. So one of the things we wanted that I was really working with Julien about is we don't want a cookie cutter. I don't want a Pringles wine. I want a wine that shows each year and reflects the variation in the vintage and the variation in the temperatures and the whole game, so that you know this was vintage. This is 17 and this was 16 and this is 15, and they're different.
Yeah.
On purpose, not on purpose. Reflecting the year. I just don't want the same taste every time, the predictable taste, and that's a problem because the marketplace wants, oh yeah,
Consistency.
I always get that sweet little note at the end of that wine, and I love that wine that way. But
Hey, we're not making widgets, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
we're not making widgets, so that's why. So I don't really have a favorite. I think there are variations. I think, 9 and 15 are up there among the ones that have the most complexity. And I want complexity.
I must say we just bottled 21, and we really, really like it. And for 21, we got some grapes from the hillside at the edge of the vineyard, which is common property of the Llewellyn. And it used to belong to your Aunt Mabel. And it was a very interesting wine, very different from what we get from our side.
Mm-hmm. It's a different piece of terrain too. It's got a little more slope.
Yeah.
And a little more drainage, and they're closer to the mountain, so there's more shade. So to me, one of the fun things has been how much variation there can be within a vineyard. You can get a lot of variation within a vineyard, which gets totally obscured when you do the whole vineyard. But if you isolate little blocks with different terroir, you get different wines. And so Johnson's is one of those great examples of more steep, closer to the hill. It's a different wine.
Nice. Wait, Mabel
Mabel
Johnson was your...
You know Mabel Johnson?
Yeah, of course.
She babysat you?
She was right next to some of my friends on Adams Street there. The Enos's.
No.
Is it the different Mabel Johnson?
I think it got to be a different Mabel Johnson. She lived in the big house.
Okay, different Mabel Johnson.
She did babysitting for a lot of people, but that was back in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, he's too young. He's too young.
There was another
Maybe
Mabel Johnson.
his dad.
Yeah. Love it. But my folks, again, we have some family close history ties, right? So my grandparents lived right up the street on Sulphur Springs. So.
Oh, where?
1813. Right where Sulphur Springs meets Crane.
Yeah, Eisens.
Oh, the Eisens.
Yeah.
The Eisens are your grandparents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My mom's side. So.
Your mom was, what's her
Melody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Mac,
Full circle.
No, you can't be Melody's kid.
You remember Melody?
Yeah, she's this little kid down the street.
I love it. Yeah, that's it.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. Here we are.
Well, if we want to get some of this delicious wine, how do we get our hands on it?
You can send us an email, taplin@taplincellars.com.
Okay.
And we'll take care of you, and if you want to taste, and then we're online.
Right?
Online.
You can go online to the webpage and order it directly online.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah. Are you also at some restaurants locally or?
Some. We are not widely distributed.
Yeah.
But some restaurants have our wine.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's everyone's goal now, to go into all the restaurants in the valley and
find where Taplin is.
Exactly. Where is Taplin?
It's like going to be a word search.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we should do what's it called?
Like a competition?
Yeah.
First person to find all the restaurants wins.
Wins a bottle of wine.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, taplincellars.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Send us an email. I mean, look at our webpage, and we can take care of you, and whoever wants to taste the wines, and we love to talk about our wines.
Cool. Well, they're very nice. Really good. Beautifully made. Well done. Cheers to Julien and you guys for keeping up the history.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
That was fun. Lots of history, lots of good wine. A great time with the Taplin Cellars folks.
That was a wonderful episode, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Now we're ending out our summer with this, and we'll be taking next month off.
Indeed. Have a little summer break.
Summer pre-fall, little pre-football season and the embers.
Hillary's just basically traveling the entire month, so her schedule's full. But anyway,
that's also true.
When you get back, Hillary, we'll restart our podcast.
Well, you don't actually notice, but I'm going out on a 911 Wine publication tour.
Of course.
I'm just out there spreading the word. That's what's happening.
Keep giving us those 5-star ratings.
Thanks, everyone.
You enjoy your evening and be safe.